Hello and welcome to our first Dreamweaver website design project. In this series you'll learn how to build a complete website from start to finish using Dreamweaver CS6. You can use your own images and resources for this project, or if you prefer you can download all of the project files shown in these tutorials. You can also get the complete series manual in printed or ebook format along with the high definition video tutorials from wizibooks.com. In our last lesson, we added the content to our About page, and in this lesson, we'll be using CSS to format and position this content. I'm going to keep this browser window open, and as we make changes to the code, we'll come back and refresh this window to see how we're progressing. I'll minimize this for now and go back to Dreamweaver. I've opened up the About HTML document, and I've scrolled down to the areas that we're working on. So we've got the right side div that we created and also the left side div, and we've added a little bit of content to those. So now it's time to start formatting this with CSS, and to do that we'll need to set up some selectors for these divs. So let's switch over to the CSS and we'll scroll down here until we get to our containers, and here's the content div, and we'll add these new divs just underneath that. So we'll give ourselves some space, and the first thing we need to do is to set up a selector for the left side. So hash left side and our opening and closing curly brackets, and we'll also set one up for the right side. And at this point we'll just switch across to the finished version and see how this looks. This is the left side, and that contains the two images here, and then the right side that's got the text and the larger image. Now the width of the left side is only going to be 220 pixels, and the width of the right side is going to be 620. So we'll set those rules up in the CSS next. So let's switch back to Dreamweaver. We'll place our cursor inside the curly brackets, and we're going to be adding a few rules here, so I'm going to adjust this code slightly, and we'll put our cursor in there. Okay, so the width for the right side was going to be 220 pixels, so we'll do that first, and the width for the right side, that was going to be 620 pixels. Okay, so we've set the widths up now. Let's save that, and we'll choose Save All, and let's switch back to our preview. This is how it looks before we made those changes, and when we refresh you'll see that the images for the left now are stacked on top of each other, but the content for our right side, that's actually appearing underneath. But we can see that the right side here has been constrained into this 220 pixel area. Now the reason that this right side is appearing underneath the left side is because we haven't added any floats yet. So let's go and do that now. We'll switch back to Dreamweaver, and we'll start with the left side. So we'll click at the end of the line of code that we just entered, hit return, and we'll tell this one to float left. And we'll do the same thing for the right side, and we'll tell this to float right. We'll save that, and let's go and preview our document now. So here it is before the floats are added, and then when we refresh the page you'll see that that right side content jumps into place. In our finished version, the background color of this left side div is the same as the outer here. So let's go and set that now. We'll minimize this and come back to Dreamweaver, and this is our left side div selector. So we'll place our cursor at the end of the float rule and press enter, and now we'll apply the background color. and this is going to be #333. We'll save that, and let's just jump back to the preview. So there it is without that background color, and we'll refresh, and now you can see that that whole div has been filled with that background color. We still need to tidy this area up a little bit, and we'll do that by adding some padding and margin. So let's do that now. We'll start with the left side, and we want our images to display in the center. So we'll start by adding some margin, and we'll have 10 pixels top and bottom and 0 pixels left and right. And we'll also place some padding in here, and for this we'll have 10 pixels of padding all the way around. Let's save that and preview. So here it is without that margin and padding, and when we refresh you'll see that that area now is spaced out a little bit better. Let's do the same for the right hand side, so we'll minimize that and come back to Dreamweaver, and we'll click in the right side selector, start a new line, and in here we'll put some margin on the bottom of this. So we'll use margin dash bottom, and we'll put 10 pixels. And for this one we'll also have 10 pixels of padding, and we'll make that all the way around. So we'll save that and come back to our preview. So here it is without that padding, and when we refresh that positions itself a little neater. Now the paragraph of text that we've got in this right area is pretty close to the image above it, so we're going to add a little bit of margin to the bottom of this image. We'll also add some margin to the bottom of these images just to give us a little bit of space between the two. So let's switch back to Dreamweaver. Now we don't want to apply margin to all of our pictures, we just want them to apply to the images within the left and the right side. So to do that we're going to create a new selector so that we can specifically target images within these areas. So we'll create a new selector called left side, space image or IMG, and we'll open and close our curly brackets, and we'll have the same selector for the right side. So I'm going to highlight that and copy, and we'll come down and we'll place that in, and I'll change left for right. So these selectors will specifically target the images within the left side and the right side. And all we're going to do here is to place some margin on the bottom of each of those images. So margin bottom, and we'll just make this 8 pixels. We want exactly the same thing for the images in the right side, so I'm just going to copy that code and paste that in for that one as well. So we'll save that, and we'll switch back to our preview. So here you can see the space between these images is pretty much non-existent, and the same with the space between the image here and the text. And when I refresh you'll see that they just jump down slightly, just making that whole effect look a little neater. In our next lesson we'll work on the 3 boxes at the bottom of the page, and we'll add the content to those. If you found this series of videos helpful and you want to receive updates on video tutorials as they're released, why not subscribe to my channel, and don't forget to like and share it with your friends.